Hello everyone. There have been some massive developments today between India and Pakistan. As expected, Pakistan has retaliated overnight with multiple drone and missile strikes against several cities across the northern and western sector. Today afternoon, we received official confirmation from the Defense Ministry regarding this. Apparently, cities and military targets from Jammu to Srinagar to Amritsar to Ludhiana, Pathankot, Jalandhar to all the way till Bhuj have been targeted, but successfully Indian Army and Indian Air Force have retaliated and intercepted all the projectiles that were coming in from Pakistan. And later, we have been informed that today morning, India stepped up the escalation ladder, and in response to these attacks, India has hit back at multiple Pakistani cities. From Karachi to Lahore to Rawalpindi to Sialkot, multiple targets have been hit, and Defense Ministry has confirmed that India has neutralized the air defense systems of Pakistan in Lahore. For the first time, we have seen the S-400, which we have procured from Russia, coming into play. And we've also seen that the drones that were used by India are the Israeli Harop drones, which are loitering munition, which give a special unique ability to loiter over targets and to strike specific targets. Now, the reason why I'm joining you live is because the MEA is conducting a live briefing, and let's listen in to what the government has to say regarding the official statement. Let's discuss and let's assess what the government has to say, and then based on that, I think we can discuss about the developments for a few more minutes.
Operation Sindoor. We also have with us Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh for this briefing. With that, I hand over the floor to Foreign
So the press briefing has started. It is headed by Vikram Misri, India's Foreign Secretary, and by two officials from the armed forces.
Perhaps seen some information related to developments since late last night, early this morning, which has been put out by the Ministry of Defense. Just in case it has been missed, I will request Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Commander Vyomika Singh to just update you and fill you in on the details.
Thank you, sir. ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर 7 मई 2025 को हुई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के दौरान अपनी प्रतिक्रिया को केंद्रित, संतुलित और गैर उत्तेजक बताया था। यह विशेष रूप से स्पष्ट किया गया था कि पाकिस्तानी सैन्य ठिकानों को निशाना नहीं बनाया गया। साथ ही दोहराया गया कि भारत में किसी भी सैन्य लक्ष्य पर हमले का उचित जवाब दिया जाएगा। 7 से 8 मई 2025
Colonel Sophia Qureshi is basically stating that India had made it very clear when we carried out Operation Sindoor that it was a non-escalatory response. We did not target military installations, we didn't target civilians. So the Pakistani retaliation that happened overnight was unjustified.
की रात पाकिस्तान ने उत्तरी और पश्चिमी भारत में स्थित कई सैन्य ठिकानों जैसे कि अवंतीपुरा, श्रीनगर, जम्मू, पठानकोट, अमृतसर, कपूरथला, जालंधर, लुधियाना, आदमपुर, भटिंडा, चंडीगढ़, नाल, फलौदी, उत्तर लाइन और भुज पर ड्रोन और मिसाइलों से हमला करने का प्रयास किया। इन हमलों को
So, as I stated, we are getting official confirmation from Colonel Sophia Qureshi from the Indian Army that Pakistan made an overnight attempt to hit multiple targets, and this was spread across the northern and western sectors from Jammu to Punjab all the way till Gujarat.
काउंटर यूएएस ग्रिड और वायु रक्षा प्रणालियों द्वारा निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया। इन हमलों का मलबा कई स्थानों से बरामद हुआ, जो कि पाकिस्तानी हमलों का प्रमाण है।
Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India using drones and missiles. These places included Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Nal, Jalandhar, Ludhiana,
भारत की प्रतिक्रिया समान क्षेत्र में समान तीव्रता के साथ की गई। यह विश्वसनीय।
So essentially, Sofia Qureshi has just confirmed that India did retaliate today morning. It was a proportionate response in the same domain, just like Pakistan was trying to hit Indian cities, Indian military targets. In the same domain, India has hit back against not just military and civilian targets, but across Pakistani cities.
रूप से ज्ञात हुआ कि लाहौर में स्थित एक वायु रक्षा प्रणाली को निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया।
Today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. It has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized.
पाकिस्तान ने नियंत्रण रेखा पर आक्रमण गोलीबारी की तीव्रता बढ़ा दी है।
So right now, Sofia Qureshi is talking about Pakistan's unnecessary escalation that we saw at LOC in the Jammu sector, where border villages, civilians were targeted from Poonch to Uri to Baramulla and Kupwara. We have seen very disturbing reports of heavy artillery firing, shelling, mortar firing across the LOC, and more than 16 civilians in Jammu and Kashmir sector have been killed. And Pakistan has reportedly even targeted places of worship, including temples and gurudwaras. So this is seen by India as a major escalation. So India is stating that India's retaliation today, the response that we carried out today through drone strikes, is justified because Pakistan was hitting civilian targets. It made an attempt to strike Indian cities, Indian military installations. So in that regard, India is justifying the stand. So let's hear it, let's listen to what else.
कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, उरी, पुंछ, मेंढर और राजौरी क्षेत्रों में मोर्टार और भारी तोपखाने का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है।
Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control using mortar and heavy caliber artilleries in areas in Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendhar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children, due to the Pakistani firing. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistan military.
Now this statement is very important. India has made it clear that we are not looking for any further escalation, and we are hoping that Pakistani establishment respects that, understands that, which means India is not looking for a larger conflict. But if Pakistan decides to cross the line again, then India would not hold back. India would respond in equal measure, but India will always ensure these responses would be proportionate. And let's listen in again.
Jai Hind.
Thank you.
So now we have heard the details of the military operation that was carried out over the last 24 hours. I think now Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary of India, would be providing a detailed perspective of what has happened, what could be the way forward, and maybe this could also send out a message to Pakistan with regard to not escalate the conflict further. So let's see.
Friends, this is, as I said, further to the briefing that was provided yesterday and some of the updates that have been just provided by Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Singh. I thought that we would just put some of the aspects related to the events that started on 22nd April with the barbaric terror attack in Pahalgam into further context, because there is a certain amount of commentary that has happened with regard to the events since then. And more than the commentary, there has been a lot of disinformation that has been directed at us from across the board.
So now the Foreign Secretary is talking about the information warfare that Pakistan has been carrying out over the last couple of days. You might have seen on social media various unverified claims being made that multiple Indian fighter jets have been shot down. And Western media has willingly picked up this narrative. But please understand, this is a fake news. It's a piece of propaganda which the ISI is very adept at pushing. They are trying to shape the narrative in this conflict, trying to undermine the Indian armed forces while trying to exaggerate their own claims and achievements. So the Indian government has already started taking action against any platform which further amplifies the propaganda of the Pakistani state machinery.
Order. A few things that I would like you to keep in mind. First of all, there is mention on all sides of escalation. I think the first point that you have to keep in mind is the attack of 22nd April in Pahalgam is the original escalation. ये जो सिलसिला है जो हम देख रहे हैं आज की घटनाओं को लेके, ये 22 अप्रैल के पहलगाम के हमले से शुरू हुआ है. Escalation वहाँ.
I think now the Foreign Secretary is referring to the international pressure which is building up. There is a narrative in the global community which is trying to put pressure on India, especially, as I said, in Western media, among certain governments as well. They're trying to push the blame on India for escalating this conflict. So the Foreign Secretary is responding to these allegations, and he has correctly pointed out that the escalation was not started by India. The first escalation happened on April 22nd, when Pakistan-sponsored terrorists carried out the horrific Pahalgam attack. So now India is responding, defending itself, and acting against legitimate terror targets.
और उस एस्केलेशन का जवाब भारतीय सेना ने, भारतीय फौज ने कल अपने to the group has been reported earlier. I mentioned to you about the Indian authorities providing it.
So now the Foreign Secretary is referring to the TRF, the Resistance Front, which was responsible for the Pahalgam attack, and he is clearly trying to link the TRF with Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Pakistani state. So India is making it very clear to the global community that the first escalation that started on April 22nd was initiated by Pakistan, by the deep state actors in Pakistan. So whatever happened at Pahalgam, Pakistan is responsible for it, and now India is just responding, retaliating against the attack.
Information to the UN 1267 Sanctions Monitoring Committee. In fact, we are going to be meeting with the team again very soon, and we will be providing an update to the information that we have provided earlier. But what is interesting, दिलचस्प बात यह है कि संयुक्त राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा समिति में जब पहलगाम के हमले को लेके एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी करने की बात चल रही थी, तो आप सोचिए किस देश ने TRF का, द रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट का उसमें मेंशन किया जाना, उसको अपोज किया, पाकिस्तान ने. This was after the fact that the TRF claimed responsibility for.
The Foreign Secretary has made a very interesting point just now. He's referring to what happened at the UN Security Council when the Pahalgam attack was discussed. See, don't forget, right now Pakistan is one of the members of UNSC. It's one of the non-permanent members. So when India and France pushed for a discussion on the Pahalgam attack, there was one country which opposed the inclusion of the name TRF. Now this was at a time when TRF itself had voluntarily claimed the terror attack. So the Foreign Secretary is exposing the double game of Pakistan, which it was playing at the UN Security Council.
For this attack, not once, but twice, within a few hours after the incident on the 22nd of April, and then again on the morning of 23rd April. And it is perhaps only after the full gravity of the incident was realized by its masters and handlers across the border that it was managed to back off from this claim. Obviously, that retraction doesn't convince anybody. तीसरी चीज जो मैं आपसे कहना चाह रहा था, और कर्नल कुरैशी और कमांडर सिंह ने कल भी बड़े स्पष्ट शब्दों में और आज भी आपसे ये बात साझा की है। जो भारतीय रिस्पॉन्स है वो नॉन एस्केलेटरी है, प्रिसाइज है, सटीक है, मेजर्ड है और कंसिडर्ड है।
The Foreign Secretary is just reiterating that India's retaliation has been measured, it has been proportionate, well calculated. We never blindly targeted Pakistani cities or military targets or state targets. So, yesterday, when India carried out the strikes, the targets chosen were terror camps. These were terror facilities where Pakistan was enabling terrorism, training terrorists, places of radicalization, the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba. So India is making it very clear to Pakistan again that we are not seeking further escalation. So if India hit Karachi today, Lahore, Sialkot and Rawalpindi, that is in response to what Pakistan did today morning. Today in the early hours, Pakistan made an attempt to strike multiple Indian cities and military targets. So again, the escalation is coming from Pakistan. So I think the Foreign Secretary is making a very valid point.
Has not been to escalate matters. We are only responding to the original escalation, as I said, and our response has been targeted, precise, controlled and measured. Only no military targets have been selected. Only terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan has been hit. Now, there are, as I said,
I can see in the live chat that a student is asking what is Sudarshan Chakra, which is in the news. Sudarshan Chakra is an Indian reference to the S-400 air defense systems, which we have procured from Russia, and it has been deployed for the first time ever in combat by India. So today morning, when India intercepted Pakistani drones and missiles and projectiles, it was primarily the S-400 which was deployed in combination with the integrated command center which tackles unmanned aerial threats. So it is this air defense system of India which has been effective in targeting and intercepting the Pakistani projectiles. That is what kept Indian cities safe today morning. But things can escalate very quickly right now. The Prime Minister has met with all the top secretaries today evening, calling for complete preparedness on the part of the administration. There are reports that all the border towns and villages starting tonight will go under a complete crash blackout. Starting with Gurdaspur, Amritsar as well. They might see a complete blackout of electricity starting from today. The civil defense measures which were rehearsed just yesterday could also be implemented because we are anticipating more strikes from Pakistan tonight or maybe tomorrow or in the coming days. So the next few days are definitely going to be very tense, and let's see how things unveil in the coming days.
Number of issues that have been raised in commentaries, and there's a lot of, as I said, unfounded disinformation and fabrication that has come from across the border, and I would just like to use this opportunity to set the record straight on some of these issues. The first of these.
See, again, the Foreign Secretary is referring to the disinformation campaign of Pakistan. Now, this is where all of us have a responsibility as an Indian citizen to be mindful of the information that we are reading, consuming, and sharing. As I said, you might have seen a lot of posts on social media claiming Indian jets have been shot down or making other exaggerated claims. So please verify the facts before you share. Look out for official statements from the Indian government, the Defense Ministry, or the Armed Forces, and also ensure that you educate others, because this is a sensitive time and the nation needs to be united at this point. There will be attempts to change the narrative, to try and spread propaganda. Pakistan is very adept at this. But as a nation, I think India should come together at this point to counter and defeat the disinformation campaign. And also, I'm seeing that the live chat, a lot of you are asking, will UPSC prelims be postponed? I think it's too early to say that. Definitely, the situation looks tense. But India, as I said, is not looking for any escalation. But if Pakistan retaliates, India will respond to it. So, if there are major escalations, then maybe. But as of now, don't worry about that. Don't speculate. Focus on your preparation, focus on your studies, and assume that exam will happen on 25th. UPSC is unlikely to postpone the exam. But again, depends on how the events will unfold. So let's not speculate as of now. Let's wait and watch. But until then, keep focus on your prelims preparation. Now let's listen in again to the Foreign Secretary.
Is Pakistan trying to wash its hands off any and all involvement with terrorism? I think the Pakistani Information Minister said there are no terrorists in Pakistan. And I think he was challenged on that in the television program that he was appearing on.
Now see, this is another great point made by the Foreign Secretary. He's referring to Pakistan's Information Minister, who recently said Pakistan has no space for terrorism. The Pakistani Information Minister, he gave an interview to a Western media channel, and I was watching this as well. So he said Pakistan doesn't host terrorists. But this is in contradiction to what their own defense minister said. Just a few days before, Pakistani Defense Minister Khwaja Asim, he openly admitted that Pakistan has been involved in backing terrorism right from 1979, playing a dirty game for US and Western powers. So that has to be the highest level of admission from Pakistan ever with regard to sponsorship of terrorism. So the Foreign Secretary is exposing the hypocrisy of Pakistani leaders, the constant double game that Pakistan plays. So let's go back to the live stream. Let's listen in.
But even if I partially repeat myself from yesterday, I think Pakistan's reputation as the epicenter of global terrorism is rooted in a number of instances where concrete evidence is available, not just to India, but to governments and authorities and agencies around the world. There are several terrorist attacks around the world where Pakistani fingerprints have been found. I don't need to belabor the point with regard to this audience about where Osama bin Laden
This is another very important point made by the Foreign Secretary. He is stating that we need not prove to the world anymore that Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism. He just reminded the world about where Osama bin Laden was found. He was found in Abbottabad, on the outskirts of Rawalpindi. Pindi is the HQ, the headquarters of the Pakistani army. And just kilometers away from the headquarters of the Pakistani army, Osama bin Laden was found and eventually eliminated by American Special Forces in 2011. So the Foreign Secretary is clearly stating that we need not prove to the world that Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism. It's a well-known fact. And now India is just acting on this, preempting the threats, holding those terrorists accountable who are responsible for many attacks against India. And also, if you remember yesterday's press briefing after the initial wave of strikes by India, India presented a lot of visuals, right from Parliament attacks to 26/11 Mumbai attacks to Pulwama on screen, just to highlight the fact that all these attacks are linked with the Pakistani state, carried out by groups like Lashkar, Jaish, which have been constantly backed and nurtured by the Pakistani deep state.
Was found and who called him a martyr. Pakistan has also for decades pursued cross-border terrorism into India with impunity. And as I said yesterday also, in order to deliberately mislead the international community, they claim that the terror.
There was another important point made by the Foreign Secretary. He pointed out how Pakistani leaders, military officials, they often refer to terrorists who have been killed as martyrs. I think that tells you a lot about the involvement of the Pakistani state, the deep state, with terrorism. Yesterday, I was going through a lot of videos on social media, and I came across one very disturbing video. There was a funeral which was organized in Bahawalpur, a funeral for some of the terrorists who were killed during India's strikes under Operation Sindoor. Now, if you go through this video, you will be shocked. It's a terrorist who's being essentially cremated, and in attendance in this funeral were Pakistani military officials. And amongst the crowd, there is a global terrorist who was present, Abdul Rauf. I don't know if you guys have heard about him, but he's a well-known terrorist. He was one of the masterminds of IC-814 hijacking. He was the mastermind of the kidnapping and beheading of American journalist Daniel Pearl. He is designated by UNSC Sanctions Committee, by the 1267 Sanctions Committee. So this globally wanted terrorist, who's under international sanctions, was present at this public funeral along with Pakistani military officials. So that tells you a lot about Pakistan's involvement with terrorism. That's exactly what the Foreign Secretary pointed out. So let's go back to the live stream.
Sajid Mir was dead, became under pressure, and Sajid Mir was then brought back to life, arrested, and is now apparently in Pakistani custody. Pakistan is also home to a very large number of UN proscribed as well as UN proscribed terrorists, as well as terrorists proscribed by a number of other governments.
Oh, this was a wonderful point made by the Foreign Secretary. He just said Pakistan is home to the largest number of proscribed terrorists in the world. He is referring to the likes of Hafiz Saeed, Zakir Rahman Lakwi, Masood Azhar, who have all been designated by the UNSC 1267 Sanctions Committee as global terrorists. Many foreign governments, including the US, they have designated these individuals as global terrorists. And there is no shred of doubt regarding the presence of these terrorists on Pakistani soil under Pakistani protection.
In the world, including, of course, the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, as well as their leaders, Masood Azhar and Hafiz Mohammed Saeed. आपने देखा होगा हाल ही में पिछले ही कुछ दिनों में पाकिस्तान के रक्षा मंत्री और उनके पूर्व विदेश मंत्री दोनों ने इस बात को माना है कि पाकिस्तान का ऐसे ग्रुप्स के साथ जो रिश्ता है वो क्या रहा है.
So the Foreign Secretary is referring to the same point which I mentioned some time ago. He's referring to the statement of Pakistani Defense Minister and a former Foreign Minister as well, who have publicly on camera admitted to the involvement of Pakistan in sponsoring terrorism.
Both the Defense Minister and the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, I think, they've done a more eloquent job of this than I could ever do.
Honestly, I feel this is a fantastic outreach by the Ministry of External Affairs and Defense Ministry, because they're publicly exposing Pakistan and its links with terrorism, publicly shaming and naming Pakistan for its involvement with terror activities. That's why I feel this press conference was so important. That's why I thought, let me live stream and discuss this with all of you. Now, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Pakistan can be trusted? Do you think Pakistan would stand down? Would it escalate? What should be India's response? I think we still have a few more minutes of the press conference. So let's listen in and then continue the discussion.
In terms of describing their country's implication in international terrorism and their involvement in housing these kinds of groups. दूसरा जो विषय है वो है पाकिस्तान का जो एक दावा है कि एक इंटरनेशनल impartial investigation होना चाहिए, joint investigative committee होनी चाहिए. These calls for jointly investigating this heinous and barbaric attack in Pahalgam. Again, I think you know the history well on this. You know the track record well, and it is not a bright track record insofar as Pakistan is.
So guys, this is another important point the Foreign Secretary is discussing. He is referring to Pakistan's offer of jointly investigating the Pahalgam attack. Foreign Secretary is pointing out that Pakistan has a terrible track record when it comes to investigating terrorism. If you remember in 2014 when the Pathankot airbase attack happened, the Modi government was actually willing and open to invite Pakistan for a joint investigation, because then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was in power, who had built a good camaraderie with Prime Minister Modi as well. India placed its trust on Pakistan. We allowed Pakistani interrogators and investigators to join our investigation into the Pathankot airbase attack. But nothing came out of it. Pakistan didn't even point fingers at Jaish-e-Mohammed, which was clearly involved in the Pathankot airbase attack. So that's a very valid point that the Foreign Secretary has just brought up. And as I said, this is a great attempt to expose Pakistan. Probably India has not done it ever in this way through public press conferences. We have done it at UN, but to bring out these pointers with evidence and to expose Pakistan, it's definitely a much needed effort which we see today from the government of India.
Concerned. In fact, in the pursuit of justice for the victims of multiple terrorist attacks, whether it be Mumbai in 2008,
See, this also reminds me of a very popular slogan in Pakistani politics. It is often said in Pakistan that the जिसके पीछे I think the foreign secretary is making an important point. Okay. So let me come back. So I was saying that there's this popular opinion in Pakistani politics that behind every act of terror, the uniform is involved behind it. So that is what the foreign secretary is referring to, that it's well known in Pakistan as well, amongst Pakistani politicians, amongst the Pakistani population as well, that behind every act of violence, every act of terror in Pakistan, the state is involved, the uniform, right? The vardi is involved essentially. So that's what the foreign secretary was referring to.
Pathankot in 2016, or many others. But in particular for these two attacks, India had offered to cooperate. India provided forensic evidence and urged Pakistan to bring the perpetrators of these attacks to justice. We, in particular with regard to the Mumbai attacks of 2008, where a Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist was captured alive, India provided extensive information and evidence related to the involvement of Pakistani terrorists in this attack. Cases were registered, but you are all aware that these cases have not.
He is again exposing the duplicity of Pakistan. Regarding joint investigation offer from Pakistan, see, we have seen this many times. After 26/11 as well, India shared a lot of evidence with Pakistan, but no action was taken, no credible action was taken. Apart from placing some of the terrorists under custody for some days, Pakistan did nothing else. In fact, believe it or not, till date, terrorists like Hafiz Saeed, Masood Azhar have never been charged under anti-terrorism law of Pakistan. They have been charged under various petty offences, petty crimes, but never under the anti-terrorism law of Pakistan. He's also pointing out how Pakistan never cooperated with India in the past, be it the Pathankot attack, the Pulwama investigations as well. They just try to create this global perception that they are willing to fight terrorism. Pakistan projects itself as the biggest victim of terrorism, right? But the foreign secretary is doing a great job at exposing that by citing these instances, giving those examples to highlight how Pakistan has never lived up to those promises. So Pakistan can't be trusted to investigate the Pahalgam attack as well. And that explains India's resort to the military option. So in a way, this is justification as well for India to retaliate against terror targets.
Progressed despite the formation of judicial teams, etc. And Pakistan has consistently stonewalled all efforts to move the investigation along. In fact, with regard to the Pathankot attack as well, a joint investigative team was formed. We gave access, unprecedented access, I should say, to a Pakistani team to the site of the attack. Details of poll records data and DNA, etc. were shared with Pakistan. We had shared with them details related that we had been able to access to the addresses of terrorists. We presented evidence against the office bearers of Jaish-e-Mohammed who had conspired in the attack and the handlers of the terrorists who facilitated them and guided them in.
the Foreign Secretary just shared some new information with regard to the Pathankot attack investigation when Pakistan had joined the investigation with India. India had apparently shared a lot of evidence, including the details of the terrorists, the planners, the handlers, and as to how they organized the attack, the logistics, how it was mobilized. Though India gave all this evidence to Pakistan, the Foreign Secretary is just indicating that Pakistan never took any action on this. That again shows Pakistan is not serious about fighting terrorism.
But there has been no movement on this. So, in all of this, I think the experience has not been positive, and it certainly doesn't give us the confidence now to take at face value Pakistani assertions of wishing to participate in a joint investigation. These are just delaying tactics, these are just stonewalling tactics. And in fact,
this is another very important observation. Pakistan's offer to jointly investigate a terror attack is not genuine. It is just a time-buying tactic. They always make this offer so that in front of the global community, they appear as if they are cooperating with India. But in reality, Pakistan has no genuine interest to investigate these attacks. It's just a time-buying tactic to push off any possible retaliation from India.
There is reason to believe that Pakistan uses the evidence that we provide only to cover its tracks and, in fact, defend the terrorists who we are looking for and obstruct the path of investigation.
This was also another important point. The Foreign Secretary said that whenever India has shared evidence with Pakistan, Pakistan has misused that evidence to cover its tracks, to cover its links with the terror groups, and to obstruct Indian intelligence gathering next time, as India constantly maintains surveillance on these groups. By using the evidence given by India, it has tried obstructing India's efforts to collect intelligence on terrorist groups. So how can you trust Pakistan when this is the track record that it has?
A third point were killed in the strikes on the 7th of May. We have made the point very clearly that all attacks on the morning of 7th May were against carefully selected.
So guys, now the Foreign Secretary is responding to Pakistani allegations that civilians, women and children were killed because of India's strikes under Operation Sindoor. As I mentioned earlier, India has made it clear that the targets we chose were terrorist targets. But unfortunately, there might be collateral damage. And as per verifiable reports, there have been few civilians who might have lost their lives in Pakistan. But the Foreign Secretary is making it clear that they were never our primary targets. They were not the intended target. The target was essentially terror camps, terror facilities, but there might have been some collateral damage and India expresses regret for that.
Terrorist infrastructure, terrorist targets. It is not clear to us. In fact, seeing some of the coverage of the after effects of these strikes, including the funerals for the terrorists that were held yesterday, I think a lot of you have seen the reports and the coverage on media. If only civilians, if any civilians were killed in these attacks, I wonder what message this picture actually sends to all of you.
So please look at this.
This is a question that is.
Please look at this image.
Asking.
This is exactly what I was referring to. The Foreign Secretary brought up the exact same point which I mentioned earlier. If only civilians were killed, as Pakistan is claiming, then why a globally wanted terrorist is present at the funeral yesterday? Why Pakistani military officials are present at the funeral? The Foreign Secretary has done a fabulous job to bring out the image, show it in the press briefing right in front of the world as to what Abdul Rauf was doing. He's a globally wanted terrorist. Why was he present at the funeral? Why were Pakistani military officials present? So this clearly cuts down Pakistani allegations.
It's also odd that the funerals of civilians are carried out with the coffins being draped in Pakistani flags and state honors being accorded. As far as we are concerned, the individuals eliminated at these facilities were terrorists. Giving terrorist state funerals may be a practice in Pakistan. Doesn't seem to make much sense to us. Pakistan has also claimed that India deliberately attacked religious sites. This is completely false. Again, I have made it clear that the targets were terrorist infrastructure, terrorist facilities, and locations connected clearly with incidents of cross-border terrorism into India.
Now, this is another very important point, because after India's initial strikes under Operation Sindoor, Pakistan alleged that India has deliberately targeted religious places like mosques. Now, the Foreign Secretary has replied that India did not deliberately target mosques. What we were targeting were terror facilities. See, basically at Bhavalpur, there was a religious seminary which was hit by India. But it's not essentially a place of religious worship. It is a place where religion has been misused. It has been twisted by the Pakistani state, because that is exactly the seminary, the madrasa, where Jaish-e-Mohammed was spreading indoctrination, carrying out recruitment for the terror outfit. So that accounts for a terror facility, not a religious place of worship. You can't misuse religion for your political, geopolitical interests. At Bhavalpur, that's what was being done at this mosque, which is the Subhanallah Masjid, which was hit by Indian missile strikes. The reason why India hit that facility is because it's not purely a religious place of worship. The very place that India targeted was being used by Jaish-e-Mohammed, seen as a headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed, to carry out indoctrination, radicalization and recruitment. So that's the justification India has given.
And it is in fact Pakistan that is misusing religious sites as a cover to in fact radicalize, direct and indoctrinate and train terrorists.
Yeah, that is the point
fact,
that I was making as
well. To what Pakistan is claiming, yesterday Pakistan launched a targeted attack on the Sikh community in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, hitting Gurdwara in Poonch and the homes of Sikh community members, which came under.
So this is something we discussed already, right? I told you in the Poonch sector in Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan has been resorting to unprovoked firing. It has already violated the ceasefire. It has resorted to heavy artillery, shelling and mortar firing. It has targeted places of worship like gurudwaras and temples. So that constitutes an attack on a place of worship, on civilians. Because see, please understand, under international law that deals with warfare, rules of engagement, targeting places of worship and civilian places is prohibited. It accounts for a war crime. Now that is what Pakistan is trying to do. Maybe it's trying to build a narrative to accuse India of war crimes, and by making these allegations that India has hit mosques. India did not hit an ordinary mosque. We hit the Subhanallah Mosque in Bhavalpur, which is a known radicalization center and a recruitment center for Jaish-e-Mohammed. But what Pakistan has done by hitting civilians in Poonch and Uri sector, by targeting temples and gurudwaras, that is an attack on place of worship. So this is prohibited under international law.
Attack, and we know that at least 3 individuals were killed in that particular attack. Pakistan is also making attempts to, in fact, just to add to this point, the retaliatory action that Pakistan has taken in fact is impacting civilians. I showed you the picture of the Gurdwara and the Sikh community.
Now the Foreign Secretary is highlighting the civilian casualties. He is showing the images of Indian civilians in Kashmir, in the Jammu sector, who have been killed because of Pakistan's unprovoked artillery retaliation.
Members who were killed in this, there are other civilians also who've been killed and injured in these attacks. In fact, since yesterday morning, a total of 16 civilians have been killed and 59 others have been injured in the attacks by Pakistan. Not only this, Pakistan is also making attempts as part of its disinformation campaign to paint our action with regard to cross-border terrorism through the communal angle. If that is the issue, then I think I can do no better than to cite or point to the direction of the Pakistan Army Chief's speech of 16 April 2025. I think that is the last word in communal rhetoric.
This is another very important point. The Foreign Secretary just referred to the controversial statement that was made by Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir on 16th April. He spoke about how Hindu Muslims are different. He spoke about the two-nation theory, leading to provocative statements. He called Kashmir as a jugular vein of Pakistan, which probably could have laid the path for the Pahalgam attack. So this point was brought up by the Foreign Secretary to counter Pakistani allegation that India is a communal country, that India is targeting Muslims in Pakistan. So with this statement, I think Foreign Secretary has defeated this allegation of Pakistan as well. And also look at the press briefing that happened yesterday and today. Apart from the Foreign Secretary, the two officials from the armed forces who were there, both were women. For example, Colonel Qureshi and the other officer, the wing commander from Indian Air Force, right? India ensured that not only women officers were represented to send out a symbolic message, because if you remember at the Pahalgam attack, it was specifically men who were targeted. Women were widowed. Husbands were shot right in front of their eyes. So that explains why we codenamed the mission as Operation Sindoor as well. So projecting women at the forefront of this fight against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism and ensuring that officers from different religions were included in the briefing, especially Colonel Qureshi, who's from the minority community, right, who's very much part of the Indian Armed Forces standing up and fighting against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. That sends out the message of communal harmony, communal unity in India.
And in the Pahalgam attack itself, you are aware of the kind of religious profiling that was done there. And perhaps there is a linkage between these two events. I can only say that these nefarious designs will not be allowed to succeed in India. And it is to be noted that people from all faiths, all religions, all regions in India have unequivocally, not just in India but around the world, have condemned these attacks.
Okay, so the press briefing has come to an end. Of course, it was still playing as we were pausing and discussing. But the key takeaway is this from this important press briefing. The takeaway is that Pakistan has again chosen escalation. Though India made it clear yesterday after the first strikes that it was a non-escalatory response from India in retaliation for Pahalgam attack in order to avenge the Pahalgam attack and to target terror infrastructure. India clearly stated it was a measured, focused response, calibrated response. We never hit military targets, we didn't hit the civilian population. Yet Pakistan provoked India today morning by launching multiple strikes, multiple projectiles, which were bravely intercepted by the Indian Armed Forces, and the very Pakistani design was defeated. Because multiple cities were being targeted from Amritsar to Ludhiana to Jammu and Srinagar. So Indian air defense systems have done a phenomenal job, and India has countered this again today morning, as we discussed at the start of the video, by launching multiple hits at Pakistani civilian targets and cities. So India has launched multiple drones, which has been confirmed by the government as well, aimed at Karachi, Lahore, Rawalpindi and Sialkot. But again, India has said this is a one-time retaliation. We are not seeking any further escalation. If Pakistan accepts this, if Pakistan tones down the tensions right now and doesn't retaliate, then most likely India would also scale back Operation Sindoor. But otherwise, if Pakistan chooses to escalate, then most likely India will keep this operation going on. So as I said, India is on high alert, especially the northern western parts of India. The government has gone into overdrive. The armed forces, intelligence agencies are working overtime. So indeed, it is a very tense, sensitive situation. But let's wait and watch. Let's see what happens. And Godspeed with our forces. Jai Hind to Indian Armed Forces for the phenomenal job that they are doing. So let's keep the discussion going on. Of course, I'll end the stream now, but we will have more discussions, more videos on this, where we analyze and assess the fast developments which are happening. It's a very rapid evolution of the developments, but let's keep track of all the authentic, verifiable reports and discuss that so that it could be relevant for the exams. So that is it for now. Let me know what you think and express your views in the comments. Right? Let us know what you think about the situation. Is Pakistan a rogue state? Should India continue this approach of using the diplomatic, military, and other options to punish and retaliate against Pakistan? So let me know in the comments. And as I said, we'll bring out another video as well. But for now, that's it. Thank you. Jai Hind.